All right, so I've been. This is one thing I forgot to do. I'm gonna take my hat off again to be respectful, but I forgot to change the aspect ratio. I think I fixed it, but let's just see how this goes. And as long as John's still sitting here enjoying his Sprite, one of the other subject matters we wanted to do is just kind of a story time. It has nothing to do with. Well, it does have something to do with Julie's. Just kind of building everything up and how we got where we are. And since we still are under construction, I want to put my. Can you see where I'm pointing my logo right down there? I have to put Julie's logo. I'll bring that down with a USB drive. I have it at home, so I'll bring that by. But yeah, every once in a while it would just be kind of fun to reminisce and share a story. I mean, we have a lot of experience working together at Pinball Plus. But what was the story you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah, I guess people always ask, well, what got what was one of your first machines that you bought, and I'll tell you the story. When I was probably about 13, 12 or 13 years old, I would always see the classified section of the St. Paul paper, and it would be like pinball machines for sale with a phone number in there and so forth. And I always said, well, we want to buy one. My parents said, well, when you work and stuff, you can save up and get one, and that type of thing. And uh, it was probably about 1984. I was about 14 years old and got hired as a busboy working at a place called the Viking Village. It was a buffet over in St. Paul over in Snelling University. So uh, right away, I wanted to start saving up to buy a machine. So I was about 14 years old. So I saved up about $150 working there a few months. And so my parents were nice enough to kind of loan me the rest. And I ended up calling the ad in the paper. And it was a guy by the name of Gary Southward who had a bunch of pinball machines over on the east side of St. Paul, and he's still there to this day, from what I believe. But he had probably about 10 machines in his basement. So I ended up buying one called the Stern Dracula, which was about a 78 or 77 machine that was made, and bought that machine. I got another side story to that whole machine that's quite interesting. That's I can tell later, but anyways, I ended up buying the machine and we gave Gary a deposit. Me and my dad went there and looked at the machine, gave him a deposit, and uh, Gary and his dad ended up delivering the machine to my parents' house when I was at work, working. So I remember calling my mom and asking her, has the machine been dropped off yet? No, it hasn't. And I'd call, half hour, 45 minutes later, and say, oh yeah, they're setting it up right now. And I could hardly wait to get home that day, just knowing that when I'm done with work, that I'm going to be going home and there's going to be a pinball machine, sitting there. And I don't even think I was I wasn't even legally able to drive at that time. So I think my dad picked me up and says, oh yeah, they dropped it off and so forth, and Gary and his dad dropped it off. So I remember getting home and going downstairs and kind of walking down the stairs and turning the corner and seeing that thing all lit up in the corner. And it was quite an experience getting that first machine. Uh, so I ended up playing the heck out of it for the next few days, and then just kind of tinkering with it and taking fuses out, seeing what didn't work, what did work. I had to unplug connectors and see, well, this plug feeds this thing, and I think it had a little bit of paperwork on it from what I can remember. So trying to figure out different nuances of the game and adjustments and setting little dip switches and things like that. So uh, and probably about it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, the thing kind of started smoking a little bit in back. And every time I'd hit the flippers, there'd be this arcing that would occur in the back of the machine. And I remember I called Gary, and he came out and fixed it. It was something with the rectifier board that was bad, and he didn't charge me anything and so forth. But he kind of showed me a little bit more about the machine. And I think it was probably 2 or 3 months later, I ended up buying a second machine from Gary, which was a Stellar Wars. So, and that was one that was a childhood favorite growing up. So it was before I knew it, I had two machines down there. So, and kind of learning how the Williams system worked and so forth. So, but that's pretty much it there on as far as the first couple machines. As far as the recollection of getting games. And the third game, when I was working at the Viking Village, the hostess told me, there's a rummage sale over a few blocks from here, and they have a pinball machine there that's for sale. And I said, really? And said, it's a regular pinball machine. So after I got done with work, I went there. I remember it was on a weekend, and it was Sonic Super Straight was the name of the game. It was just sitting there. It wasn't plugged in or anything. Beautiful condition. Thing didn't work. But I had no way of getting it home. I mean, the rummage sale was going to be ending soon, and they only wanted $40 for it. So I was able to buy the machine, but I had a trouble of getting it home. So I came up with the idea of ordering a taxi cab to come pick the machine up. I had a friend that worked with me at the Viking Village. He helped me get the machine, take it apart. We brought it out to the curb, and I called up Yellow Cab and said that I had some packages that we needed. And they had station wagon taxis at the time, so I told them, I said, hey, we got a package, we got to deliver also. We got to move, and, can you send out a station wagon? We got some things we got to move. So I had the game on end, and the guy pulled up, and he says, you're not going to be move that in here and so forth. And I said, yeah, I'm sure it'll fit. The top is off, and the legs are off, and the body is. And sure enough, we're able to get it and fit. And the funny thing about it was a brand new cab, and the guy was just irate because there was a nail or something sticking out of the bottom of the cabinet. And when we slid the cabinet in, it actually tore his carpeting on his taxi, and he was just beside himself. And I said, well, we're sorry, and nothing we can do. So I think we got the game back home, and it was only about, I'd say, less than a mile from where we loaded the machine up. It was a church rummage sale, and got the game home. And I think the fare came to like $3.60. So we felt bad for the carpet, so we gave him $5 and told him to keep the change. So that's a little story there about the first few games that I got, and that mechanical, that Super Straight. I never was good at fixing mechanicals, but I did get that game working, and it was in mint condition, and it was a fun game to play, and it worked right. It was a 4-player mechanical game, so. Didn't need a lot of work. It was just dirty, but just tinkering with it was able to get it running. So
you sold? You sold that Dracula then eventually, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different story. The cat, I had a cat, and I had the glass out of the Dracula, and the cat knocked the glass over. It broke, so I ended up getting rid of that game, and I gave it to Al over at Pinball Warehouse to use for parts. I either gave it to him or sold it to him cheap. It was one of the two, but it ended up staying up in his loft up there from about, I'd say 1988, all the way up until right before COVID started, because Al was getting rid of the stuff, and he says, you know what, you got to get this Dracula out of here. It's, it was my first machine. But he had it up there for almost the better part of 35 years.
I was born in 88.
Yeah, and it was sitting up there, and he just, if he needed a coil, I needed a part, he just would rob it. So I ended up getting the game back from him. And I got the playfield clear-coated, touched up. Eric's mom did the cabinet on it, and I just got to put it back together, and that's my next project. Once I got Star Trek coming down here, and I got Indiana Jones coming down here. So once those two are here, I'll have some room in my garage, which I always call my studio. It just sounds a little more professional rather than working on my garage. It's studio's better.
That was one of the first stencils. I know my mom and I. Actually, she just did it for me the very first time she wanted to do it. She repainted my Bally Hocus Pocus. We're going way off topic. This video is supposed to be about your first game, but getting back to the Dracula, my mom she painted my Bally Hocus Pocus, but back when I was in high school. But her second time doing a game stencil decal set was your Stern Dracula, and she ordered the Pinball Pimp had the stencils, and we're not plugged. Well, we do want to plug Pinball Pimp because they are a great outfit.
They sell a good product.
They sell a great product. I mean, we're a customer just like everybody else. But those stencils, it's been a great thing for my mom and myself to do. When if the weather ever gets nice out there, it's a fun project for us to do together. And restore pinball machines. So yeah, that was just thinking of that. That was one of the first stencil kits. And she pretty much did it herself. She'd call me up and say, hey, I need you to help me. You flip the cabinet over on the other side. I got to do the next side or something like that. I wasn't really a part of it, but I was still kind of buried deep in my job at that point, living in my condo, and then kind of before I kind of had my kind of dove into pinball for the second time in my life. I used to be in it real big, and I got out, and now I'm kind of back into it again. But yeah, that's an interesting story. And you and I picked up. I really wanted to hold on to it. I wanted to keep it. You and I picked up a Super Straight that one time.
Oh, sure, remember that? Yeah.
Where was that? That was out. Was that by Hutchinson or something like that? I remember.
Yeah, that was a ways away. I remember that. Yeah.
What did I end up paying for that? I had to pay what was that? Taco Libre. I think they had $6 or $8 for a few tacos. I had to buy you some tacos. And
yeah,
that's why I paid for that machine.
That was a freebie. Sometimes you get you get people that just want to. The game's been sitting forever, and they just want to get rid of it. And that's those are kind of nice deals that way. But
perfect back glass. The playfields. It had a lot of how do I want to say this politically correct? A lot of rodent excrement. I think that's the politically correct way to say it. It is what it is. It was in the guy's living room. Nice guy, but just kind of I think the guy was downsizing or his parents' house or something like that. Just wanted it out of there. They had that fiber. Didn't have like that cheap press board fiber.
Yeah, those cabinets weren't the greatest. They were more kind of a press wood type, composite type wood. And
I got the game working, but then again, this was years before we had this building, and we were up to we were almost up to 150 machines. So it's like now we got the building. I need a little bit of breathing room. Storage is getting expensive. We're only looking. We didn't know if we were going to have a place for 200-300 machines or something like that. So I had to make some really really tough choices and sell some machines. And unfortunately, I was hoping to keep that one as an experience. That was your first mechanical. I was hoping we could hold on to that. But at least you still got your very first game of Dracula.
Yeah, and getting back to that Dracula, it was a pleasant experience because Gary. Back in the 80s, Gary and Al, they always call him Big Al, were kind of the main people in town that were selling machines for home. I never did visit. I didn't get to know Al till I got my driver's license. I was able to drive out there and we'll look at different machines and so forth. I got a lot of
stories. Yeah, you worked for him.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of good stories.
We have a lot of stories that I want to, especially in the St. Paul area. Some of the you did a lot of stuff at the Minnesota State Fair for the arcades and all that.
Oh sure, yeah.
You worked at the smorgasbord and all that. And staying out there late by yourself. We got a lot of fun stories. I've heard time and again, but it'd be nice to get these on video and people can listen in and enjoy that along with kind of going on the adventure of what we're doing here with Julie's as well. So.
But yeah, getting back to the Viking Village, that first job that I had. I mean, that was.
Let's save that.
I'll save that. Yeah, we'll save that. It'll be interesting. It's the first location, so hopefully you'll tune in again.